Oh, hey, I'm glad you're here. Growing up in a video store and being a horror kid meant I spent a lot of time in that aisle. And over time, I watched everything we had, some multiple times. Then, when I was old enough, I would get membership cards at other video stores, and I'd do the same thing. The end game wasn't just to see it all. I also wanted to report back to friends. Oh, you like Return of the Living Dead? Then you should see Neon Maniacs or 1988's Grotesque. I just love to discover something and be able to share it, and I love finding something that I haven't seen and then having to track it down. And that's what I hope for this podcast, that in some episodes, maybe something gets on a person's horizon that may not have been ever there. So if that happens for you, please feel free to let me know. I live for it. These two episodes are also my selfish way to get to talk about a lot of horror movies with my friends. So I hope you enjoy our part 2 of our horror drafts, my tribute to my friends' podcast, All Fantasy Everything. Oh, and listen to the end because right after we recorded this, I realized I didn't pick a movie that I watch every year. It surely would have been my number one, and with everything going on, it just didn't get to be picked. I am appropriately horrified. So let's get right to it. This is our standalone horror movie draft. Our guests are Ryan and Lindsay, and this is VH Greetings and salutations. This is VHS, and I'm your host, Dirk Marshall. Welcome to part 2 of our horror draft episodes. This is the standalone horror movie draft, and to participate in this special episode, I have 2 wonderful returning guests. The first of which is host of the Schlock and Awe podcast. It's Lindsay Wilkins. Welcome back.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And rounding out the pack, the second person drafting today, it's host of the New World Pictures podcast, Ryan Gowland. Welcome back.
Hello. Thank you for having me back, Dirk.
Absolutely. Now, you may be asking yourself, how will this horror movie draft work? Well,
I am curious.
Yes, I am. Me too.
Let me tell you.
Because I don't think I have it right.
Yeah, perfect.
I have improperly prepared.
That's right where I want you. The way this will work is an order will be chosen, and then each person will take their turn choosing a horror movie one at a time that has no sequels, no prequels. This is a standalone horror movie draft. And then once that movie is chosen, it is ineligible to all the other drafters. It is off the board. So if I chose Dumbo Drop, if this wasn't horror themed, then Ryan couldn't choose Dumbo Drop, despite
That's
being...
not... Operation Dumbo Drop is not a horror film?
I had the title wrong anyway, so I wouldn't get it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw that in the movie theater, so...
Whoa.
Me too.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
This is an Operation Dumbo Drop positive crew here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It was Ray Liotta with a Dumbo in a jungle. How do you not?
Mm-hmm. Come on.
Yeah. Is Danny Glover in that?
Oh, and now you expect me to remember
yeah,
all of it?
See? This is a
Yeah,
trick. You both said you saw
sounds
it.
plausible, but
This is your revenge for me knowing the full title.
Uh-huh.
yes, he is. Actually, this cast is actually kind of wild.
I was like, isn't Bill Murray's like a in it for a bit, isn't he?
He's the
I
elephant.
think he might be, but also Dougie
He's
Doug.
the elephant. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Dougie Doug and Corin Nemec are in it, so I'm just like, oh my god, this is and
Corin
Dennis Leary.
Nemec.
Parker Lewis
So this
can't
is just
lose.
like the '90s cast of '90s casts.
Wow.
Yeah, I met Corin Nemec once because I went to college with his sister.
Whoa.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so he kind of floated by on campus once, and I got to meet him, and I was trying to play it real cool. because Parker Lewis Can't Lose was
No.
a huge show to me. So
Me too.
yeah, I didn't know it was like his sister until for a while. So I was just like, Nemec, that's an interesting name. Didn't put it together.
It's pretty.
Oh, my bread, the corn. What?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Excuse me. What now?
Yeah,
What?
she's really cool. I haven't seen her in a long time, but she's a cool girl. She's in LA. She works on movies and stuff. She's like I think a production designer.
Oh,
Okay.
cool.
Maybe I'll reach out, have her on the podcast.
I should. Yeah.
I
It'd be
meant
great to talk with
myself.
her.
So you back off. I'm gonna invite
Oh,
her.
you're gonna do it. Oh, I'll steal it.
Dang it.
That would be very interesting if you're like, oh, someone I met through podcasting said they went to school with you, and I thought I would ask you on.
I mean, stranger introductions have not.
For sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
There's only one other caveat, and that being that we can only draft films from these horror subgenres. Number 1, slasher backwoods. Number 2, supernatural / paranormal films. 3, creature features. 4, survival home invasion. 5, body horror. And 6, horror comedies. Now, you might be like, Dirk, that's most of the horror things. I had to make up some kind of thing because we're just drafting every horror movie that doesn't have a sequel.
Yeah.
It's the idea, people, that we're going to be corralled. We'll be close to each other's picks. Oh, who's going to choose what? And why am I letting the air out of the tires already? Basically, people, we're just celebrating movies in this draft. So each person will have a total of 5 picks at the end. It's a serpentine draft, meaning if you pick third in the first round, you pick first in the second. It kind of snakes back and forth.
Lindsay knows this because she does fantasy football, right?
Yes, absolutely. Completely obsessed.
Same. I'm shortstop.
We're about half an hour. We're half an
I
hour from setting our lineups, guys. So I hope you guys are also doing that like I am.
I know completely what that is. I understand all of it.
Me too. You might be saying, Dirk, this sounds completely arbitrary. It is, but in the end, we're going to all have 5 horror films, and then as the best things are, it'll be decided by the internet who has the best grouping of horror standalone films. Now, naturally, there are ways to go about preparing for such a draft. First rounds, most often, is the movie you think other people are going to take. So you're like, I'm going to take this first so that it's off the table and no one else can touch it. Sometimes people don't play that way. Sometimes people prefer to just go with personal picks of the heart, so that nobody would be anywhere even close to your picks. I have quite a plan here. But how was the prep for the two of you, being Ryan, that you didn't understand because I didn't explain well what was happening? Pretty good prep?
Yeah. Well, as I was telling Dirk off mic right before last night, when I was like, I better pick my movie, then I reread the text, which I had to find. It was long buried into.
Yeah.
And I was like, there are all these categories. I have to pick something for every category. I thought I had to pick like one film.
Yep, perfect.
And I was like, no, I have to pick one movie for every category. So I have stacks of movies that I have prepared with little Post-it notes of each subcategory.
Whoa.
That I will like, okay, now I'll have my top picks. Yeah. And I also have some written down just that I forgot to grab the disc or I don't own it. So I was like, okay, I'll have those lists just in case those get picked. Because my expectation is that if we were going by these lists, which we're not, but if we were, that probably the top picks are going to be taken from some of these. So I have to be prepared to pivot. So that's why I got all these stacks of stuff. So I'm ready to pivot should I have to.
Lindsay, how was it for you?
Good. I started off thinking, I get 2 picks. Okay. Oh God, only 2 picks out of all these horror movies. Then my brain exploded. And then I started making kind of the category. So I have like lists of just invasion, slasher backwards, and kind of just movies. So again, I can kind of pivot if something gets picked. But then I was like, how obscure do I go? No, don't go obscure. Let's just go for the best ones. I got into a bit of a conundrum, and I think I have too many movies that I can pick from. So this could be interesting, but we'll see how we go.
Yeah, I had one where I was like, this is definitely my pick. So, and it's my last pick because I was like, no one's going to choose this. Then the other 4, I was like, well, those are all, I have like 3 options for each one because I was like, okay, if this gets picked, then I can pivot over here. But then if I had 2 from the same like subgenre, then I was like, I don't want to have that's too similar. So then I had options of that. And then this is what I wanted to mention about tricky things, because I would find some films, we'll say, I don't know, Italian films, where there was a movie that's seen as part of a trilogy, but it's not really
Oh, I stayed away from those.
a sequel.
I saw, yeah. I'm like, oh no, this could be considered a sequel, even though it's not. But it technically, in some markets, was marketed as a sequel. So I just went, you know what?
Interesting.
No, I'm not going to be going there because otherwise it could still be a sequel. Yeah, I purposely just went, maybe no Italian.
Oh yeah, I kind of was like Italian stuff. I kind of somewhat avoided just to make it a little simpler.
Good. Because I was looking at
yeah.
a Fulci movie, and that was seen now as a trilogy, and I was like, but are they? I mean,
yeah, not really, but yeah, like
but they are.
Yeah, so I kind of stayed away to kind of,
There's a certain Apocalypse trilogy that I also stayed away from by a very beloved director, just because I'm like, it's not a trilogy, but it kind of is considered a trilogy. So yeah.
Yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah. One last question. What do you think? Jerome Ford or Keenan Allen in my flex spot? This is a PPR league. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, George Foreman is a good pick. Go with that one.
Cool, guys. Great. I think I'm set.
Yeah.
I'm ready to roll.
Yeah.
I even had a situation where I chose the movie Veronica by Paco Plaza, and then I found out that he made a prequel called Hermana Huerta this last year.
Yeah, he did. Wow. Yeah.
And I didn't know he did that. And then I was like, what a way to find out there was a sequel to a movie I really enjoyed.
I was going to say, I thought you would have been aware of that.
No, I was very shocked. But
I kind of knew foreign stuff was going to be handled by you and Lindsay. So I was like, I'm good. I can kind of stay away from that.
Nice.
So they're going to beat me to any punch on that. So.
Well, we'll see, because in the previous episode, I drew all the names for the draft one by one, and that became the order of the draft. This time, I drew one name. And for full transparency, it's the person that did not show up for the draft today. So I'm now choosing a second name, and it is Ryan. So Ryan, you are choosing the order of the draft.
The order of the draft.
So you can choose any position for yourself.
I will go last then, because then I will have 2 picks in a row.
Okay. Oh, crap.
Yeah. Yeah, so the first and third position will be back-to-back picks, and the middle person is one at a time, basically is how that works, as it is a serpentine draft. Okay, so Ryan,
thanks for helping me set my lineup, guys. This is great. I'm glad we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay, so who's first and who's second?
Lindsay should be first.
There we go.
And then that would make the person not here second. Can I pick them?
Yeah, no, they get no picks.
Then you would be second.
All right, the meat and the sandwich, where
right.
I like to be. Okay, now that we're clear on all the rules, then without further ado, Lindsay, you have the first pick in our standalone horror movie draft. What have you chosen?
So this can be from any of the categories?
Any category.
Okay, well, I might as well just go what's on the top of when I kind of did a top 5 kind of thing. This may be obvious, but it's never had a sequel, even though it should have many sequels. It is a horror comedy, and that is, of course, Tucker and Dale versus Evil by Eli Craig from 2013. Nice. This movie is adorable. I recently rewatched it, planning to watch this at the beginning, and then I ended up watching the whole thing. So for those who don't actually know what this delightful movie is, it is about Dale and Tucker, who are 2 rednecks who live in the woods, played by Tyler Labine, of course, and Andy Tudyk, as 2 rednecks who just want to hang out their cabin, fish, build some stuff, use their wood chipper. And they are kind of inundated by these very annoying college kids who suddenly think they're in a slasher movie, and that Dale and Tucker are, in fact, slashers, but in fact start killing themselves at a rate of knots in the most hilarious ways. My favorite being the wood chipper, with poor Alan Tudyk trying to pull a disembodied leg out and having to say, we've had a doozy of a day. It is a really sweet movie. It is very gory, and it's a movie I adore.
Yeah, Ryan, thoughts on Tucker and Dale?
Yeah, I like it. I love the fact that the director is Sally Fields' son. Just random. But when I found that out, I was like, he directed Tucker and Dale? Like,
I did not know he was Sally. I thought he was random too, but no, he is Sally Fields' son.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a crazy fact. It's a fun little one. I love that it plays like I love that there was a time where you could play with, and it was around this time, I think Cabin in the Woods is also one of those where you could just play with like people's, sorry if I just mentioned the title of something somebody's going to put on the list. Anyway, whether you could put where you could just make a movie that's like based in conventions that horror fans would know. And so therefore it would play because people know horror films. Now it feels like, well, what sort of intellectual property does it derive from for the most part, or what sort of creative team does it come from? So, but I love that we had this era where we could just like, well, you guys all know like the trope of the backwards guys. What if they were the heroes, but they weren't backwards guys at all? But then they have to kind of pretend to be so in order to be able to figure this whole thing out. And it's delightful for fans of the genre. Even watching it at the time, I was like, is anyone do other people get this?
Yeah.
You know?
No, I mean, usually it's kids go into woods and they get picked off one by one. And I love kind of when you look at it, it's like they are picking themselves off because they think they're about to get murdered and therefore murder each other and themselves. It's the kills are really impressive.
Yeah.
They're really fun.
And those two guys are just so funny. They're so funny.
They're so sweet.
In their simple, sweet way. And they think these kids are like engaged in a murder-suicide pact. And it's really funny. It's something I watch probably every other year, if not every year, just because I like a horror comedy. And they always just give me everything I want with the kills and the laughs. That's an excellent pick. It was on my list, so I will not be...
Alan Tudyk is really like an unsung hero.
Yes.
I think he's so funny, and he does not get enough. I know he's working very well, like doing voiceover and stuff, and he's like in Frozen movies and so on. So like he's doing fine, but I'm still like, God, that guy's really, really funny. Like he's a better comedy actor than I guess he's on that. He has a Resident Alien TV show that he's doing currently. So you know, he's doing fine, but I just want more people to recognize what a funny actor he is, you know?
He is. Watch Death at a Funeral, which isn't a horror movie, but he is high through most of it.
So funny when he's naked on the roof.
Shenanigans. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Shenanigans ensue. So yes.
He's in, I think the first thing I ever saw him was Knight's Tale.
Yep.
Oh, would have been. Yeah. I keep forgetting he's in that. I think it's Death. For me, I always think it's Death at the Funeral. And then so it goes, what about Knight's Tale? I'm like, oh yeah, I have seen that.
So I saw that, I think, and I saw that in the theater, and I thought,
Me too,
this guy's English. So then when I saw him in another movie and he was not English, I was like, wait, what's up with this guy?
Yeah, I heard he also voices the elephant in Dumbo Drop. That's also...
He does, yes.
Yeah, so he got it over Bill Murray. That makes sense. He is good.
No, Bill Murray is still the elephant, but
he plays
Alan does the voice.
Alan Tudyk does the voice. That makes sense. Yeah.
And then I saw him in A Knight's Tale, and I was like, he's not elephant? That's what I said. But... Anyway,
that's you.
Yeah, cold medicine. Okay, number 2. 3 films that I was nervous that I wouldn't get. They're all in the first pick, and then I didn't include them as options for my other picks. So that makes no sense. But anyway, I'm going to say a film some people know as Brain Dead. I know it as Dead Alive. It's Peter Jackson's wonderful gore fest from 1992, where a young man's mother is bitten by a Sumerian rat monkey. I saw it. It was the first Peter Jackson movie I saw. So I hadn't seen Meet the Feebles. I hadn't seen, what's the one with the alien heads?
Bad Taste.
Bad Taste. Yep. I hadn't seen yet. We got the promo tape. I put it in, and it like changed the temperature of the room almost instantly. I was just like, what is this? This isn't Sam Raimi, but it feels like it's from that world. And man, we were quoting... I showed it to all my friends. Zingaya was like a catchphrase between all of us. And the lawnmower sequence, I mean, there just wasn't a movie that came out at that time that like just blew us away. And then we would go around and tell people about it, and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. And we're like, it's like the craziest thing we've seen in forever. And so I knew I needed a horror comedy to kick this off. And Dead Alive changed my opinion on pudding, which was already gross, and now it got gross.
All I can think of when everyone goes,
oh God, it's
Brain
so
Dead
gross.
or Dead Alive. All I think is the air in the pudding. It's all I can,
Yeah, gross. Anyway, that's my first pick. Any thoughts on Dead Alive / Brain Dead?
I mean, I had the same thing when it came out. I got to see it in a movie theater. Took some friends to see it, and because I was like, this movie rules. And so I had heard. And that's what kicked me off on Peter Jackson as well. And then I saw Bad Taste, which I've seen so many times. I love that movie so much. the aliens just dressed in denim. Like there's just so many choices that they're made out of, the fact that he had no money and he was shooting on weekends and stuff. But like, that's just one of the most like you make those choices and you just make them because they make you laugh. And when you do that, like it translates, And so that one also has like another kind of pudding type thing with that big bowl that they pass around.
Yes.
But anyway, that's not Brain Dead, Dead Alive. Dead Alive is great. I had it on VHS and I went, I'm going to get the DVD. I'm going to sell this VHS off. And
oh no, you didn't, because
yes, yep, because so still yeah. So I don't have. So I don't.
He apparently is working on it, but whether we're going to get it or not. Yeah, I just saw a restoration of Heavenly Creatures, so I think that one's going to come out first. I'm kind of hoping the others do follow.
Dirk has the DVD. He's holding it aloft.
Just
to taunt me.
Scene access. This DVD has scene access.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wait, does it have an interactive menu? Because that's a key feature of any special edition.
It does right above scene access. It's an interactive menu.
Oh, that's incredible. What a special edition you got.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. No, I saw this on VHS. What would happen in New Zealand, because they would never get, after they probably were shown at the theater, they would just never get shown on TV. So what would happen is that you'll just get a VHS handed to you and go, yeah, watch this. And this could be anything from The Exorcist to Salo to something that was probably banned, and then all of a sudden you're watching it and it's Meet the Feebles or it's Brain Dead or it's Bad Taste. So it was just kind of this weird black market of passing around VHSs. And yeah, that was it's definitely a rite of passage, at least in the 90s and maybe early 2000s. It was definitely a rite of passage for a lot of Kiwis to watch an early Peter Jackson movie.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know this, but do you guys have any guesses on who played the Sumerian rat monkey?
Oh,
was it Bill Murray?
It was Alan.
It was Alan Tudyk.
Yep.
Ah, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. He's very talented.
He is very talented, yeah. I wish I knew when I first watched it, like Skull Island, but I never put it together until like the last couple of watches. I'm like, oh, he's at Skull Island, of course.
Oh man, excellent pick. Me. So
yeah, great job, you.
Well done, Dirk.
So running into the final pick of round one.
So excellent pick is not a cursory thing; it's just an automatic response that you do.
Yeah,
it's a legit, honest to God thing that you say.
I say it all the time. So Tucker
you see him in the kitchen. Well done, Dirk.
Yes,
making a sandwich.
Done. Excellent pick.
Just patting
excellent
myself.
Pick, me.
Good job. Ooh, pastrami. Excellent pick. So Tucker and Dale, Dead Alive, off the table as we roll into the final pick of round one.
Round one.
What have you chosen?
I'm going to pick one that I know you guys all have in your list. Because we can't, what really threw me was not having the sequels, and that throws me off.
Yes.
Like, could I have picked Nightmare on Elm Street? Yes. Could I have picked Nightmare on Elm Street 3? I could have, but I didn't, because instead I picked Don't Panic. Or Dimensiones Occultas. All right? Because this was in my occult pile. And this is a movie that Vinegar Syndrome, I just held the Blu-ray, and that's kind of how I found out about it, because they're essentially the Ruben Galindo factory, and that he's the director. But I've seen this in the movie theater. I saw this at the New Beverly, paired with Nightmare on Elm Street a couple years ago.
Oh,
and so Nightmare on Elm Street played first. Everyone's in there quoting it. It's great. It's super fun to see on film again. So cool. I don't think I ever saw the first one in a theater. I think that's one that was a VHS rental. I saw the third one and so on, and from there, but I didn't ever get to see the first two. So this was like tick. I got to see the first one in a movie theater, and then Don't Panic is going to play, and there's a slight break, and everyone walks out. And I was like, you guys are really.
You're missing out.
This is a mistake, and I understand it's Friday night, but this is a mistake. And for those of us who stayed, I'd already seen it, but I was like, what a delight to see in front of a crowd. It's a Nightmare on Elm Street-esque ripoff based on the great powers of a Ouija board and
dinosaur pajamas.
Yeah.
And an incredible pair of pajamas that is just has to be seen to believe. And a guy who's playing a 17-year-old who's not 17 and also playing it like he's 12. And it's just such a remarkable lead performance. It's so amazing. And I've seen this movie so many times now that I was like, I know I have to have this on
Yeah,
here.
I love it.
It's a crazy pick to put on an all-time horror list, but this is like an all-timer now for me. I love Don't Panic. It is a absolute blast, and I have so much joy watching it.
I've always wondered how old those kids are meant to be, because I know it's a 25-year-old meant to play a 17-year-old, but when you look at that party when they're playing with the Ouija board, I'm like, are these guys meant to be 12? I don't think they're meant to be 17. This is not a 17-year-old party. This is like when you'd have sleepovers when you're 12. And I've always been I love it, but I've always been so confused by that. I'm just like, how old are these guys meant to be?
Because he races around at the end of the movie in this pair of pajamas, which is filled with dinosaurs, and it's absolutely for a 12-year-old.
I would still wear those pajamas, but they are for a 12-year-old. Yeah.
Right. But he also then has a girlfriend. So so you're like, but he can't be 12, but are they trying to make him 12? I don't know. It's part of the joy of the movie, though, you know?
It's as influenced by Nightmare on Elm Street as it is big.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
They're playing by big rules. Yeah. That's weird.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just love this movie. And so that ticks off an occult box.
Perfect. Excellent selection. I love a good personal pick. People will know because it will have aired first, our horror sequels draft, where the first pick was Book of Shadows.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Out of all horror sequels,
is
the first pick was Blair Witch 2, and I was like, this is what I'm here for. This is craziness. So
that is a bold choice.
Yeah.
Very bold.
Yeah. And I won't belabor all the other picks, but it really set the tone, I feel like, for complete insanity.
Yes.
So, Ryan, perfect. Don't Panic is there as your number one pick, which means, I wish I had a snake sound. It's a serpentine draft, so it's back to you.
Okay, so body horror is the trickiest one for me.
Okay.
I'm just not as into body horror as a lot of horror fans are. I know. I'm just not it's not something, I don't know what it is. I really, looking through my stacks trying to find, like, let me put all the body horrors together. I was like, I don't have much. It's clearly something I don't gravitate to.
Ryan, wait till you watch The Substance. It will change your life.
Oh, I know. I can't wait to see it. Probably going to see it my birthday. But in any case.
Perfect.
But I do have some, and it's not just a Cronenberg. And that was my other challenge. I was like, pick something other than all the Cronenbergs I have. Yeah. Right?
Same.
So luckily, I get to pick one of these. There is some joy that you get from getting the Vinegar Syndrome subscription. And in particular, I got From Beyond.
Yeah.
And this is just incredible. I put my signed picture of Ken Faree over here because I met him recently at a convention here in Los Angeles. What a nice guy. Super nice. He's great in this, as is everybody. I love the flip-flopping of Reanimator in terms of the roles with Barbara Crampton. This is just an incredibly good movie. And not only that, like, so economic.
Yes.
Like it's like not long. It's well told. Everyone's great in it, and it's gross and gooey and confusing, which I was like, that's body horror, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I love this movie so much, and when this came out in 4K, I was like, holy shit, I'm so glad I got this subscription. So love it. From Beyond.
Lindsay, thoughts?
Yeah, the more I watched The Beyond, the more I realized it's my favorite Stuart Gordon, which I always thought was Reanimator, but no, I think it is From Beyond. Just the whole Pretorius thing, just how horny this is. I mean, this has a forehead penis.
So horny.
The fact that Barbara Crampton has so much more to do in this one than she ever does in Reanimator.
And she's so good in it too.
And she's so good. And just her transformation and just the effects, how goopy it is. How it's also like, it's body horror, but it's also like a creepy house movie. It just kind of ticks all the boxes that you want from that kind of movie, and I love the look at it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, this was the first thing that I think made me take notice of Stuart Gordon's name. We had this in the video store, and I saw this and was just like, what is this? And like you, Ryan, when that new version came out, I was like, I gotta get this. I put it on the other night, Sarah came down and she was watching it, and then she went to bed right before everything gets really crazy.
Oh, yeah. So
And
she went to bed pretty quick.
I mean, yeah, like Pretorius came back and he was like kind of slimy and stuff, but like we all know where it goes from there. Like
Oh, yeah.
the
It
real good
goes,
stuff,
yeah,
with
yeah.
the full on.
Yeah, Stuart Gordon takes his wife down in a
Yeah.
in a remarkable way.
Yeah. So yeah, I can't wait to show her the rest of the film. But yeah, I love.
Yeah, it's such a good movie. And you're right, I love the Reanimator movies. I actually really enjoy all three, even the third one, which is very wacky and in a prison. And it's just but From Beyond, I just think has like that kind of flavor, but like totally different and balls to the wall. And like Lindsay said, Barbara Crampton gets just to really feature in it, and
Yeah.
she's so good. And I forget the guy who plays Pretorius, but like what
He's great.
also amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah. Well, I've already said I loved it, so thank you guys for agreeing. It's no Don't Panic, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, for my second, oh man, I'm going with from 1986, directed by Fred Dekker, Night of the Creeps.
Yes.
Yep.
I need to watch this again.
Yeah, I had that on my list.
Yeah, it's a movie that there's certain films, like, I can say this because it's a sequel, but like Fright Night 2, just things that are like super cozy for me. They're like mashups of horror movie genres. They have comedy, they have like that Halloween aesthetic kind of vibes, that's very spooky movies, but like I just watched them so much when I was a kid that like Night of the Creeps was one that I just love. I love that the two like protagonists are kind of like dorky, like, and one kid has mobility issues and he still gets to like be like the second lead in the movie basically, and you just didn't see that when I was a kid, and when we had like just like Arnold Schwarzenegger as our heroes and stuff, and I was like, that'll never be me. But then I watched Night of the Creeps and I'm like, I kind of have a shot at that. Like, that could work. I don't know. Yeah, and I just think Dekker just does such a great job of being like, there's aliens, there's brain slugs. Like Tom Atkins, like just kicks ass in it. Like they just
it's a key Tom Atkins role.
And
I mean, probably the key, and then maybe followed by what, The Fog and Halloween 3, maybe.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
The Tom Atkins trilogy of
yeah.
No, I was just talking about this movie before earlier today, and this is just a great party movie. This is a movie if you're at a party you can throw on, and it will fit the mood. Like it's just it's got a whole bunch of stuff in it. It's like got the references you want. It's got Tom Atkins being amazing, and it's just a really fun movie.
Yeah, it's really good. I had it on my list too. I recently rewatched Slither too, which I thought about, and I thought, but it's such a remake of Night of the Creeps.
Right.
It's like
I thought the same thing.
And I enjoy it. I still I rewatched it. Eric and I rewatched it. I had a great time with it. Michael Rooker is just fantastic in it. And it's got a very good cast. Still really enjoyable, but it's not the Creeps.
Yeah.
So it's like it really. It is a lot of things, and it's derivative of a lot of stuff. That movie, but like Night of the Creeps is the original, and you want a little alien slug that crawls into your brain. That's Night of the Creeps. So that's the OG, and as much as you got a great cast of Slither, you don't have Tom Atkins, and this is his role. This is the role for Tom Atkins, and I love Fred Dekker's stuff.
Yeah,
same. He's awesome and great writer. Great pick, excellent pick.
Excellent pick. Which closing out the second round, Lindsay, what did you choose for your second pick?
I might as well go for one of my body horror picks. And I did go for Cronenberg. And this is kind of the one that I feel that I'm always recommending to people. And I feel that when they don't stop talking to me, it's because they have, in fact, seen The Brood.
This was on my list.
Yes. 1979. Of course, this is Samantha Eggar and Oliver Reed trying to outact each other. But it is his divorce movie. It is, I forget the husband. I think it's Art Hindle. Is divorced from Samantha Eggar. They have a child, so there's this shared custody battle that's going on between them. It's not going well, and Samantha Eggar's kind of fallen under the spell of this. I guess he's a therapist, possibly acting like a cult leader. Oliver Reed, who's trying to treat her, and there are these little mini creatures that keep going into the house and murdering people, and they're kind of light spoilers. I won't say what the final image is because that is one of the most amazing things you'll see in a movie. They are being sent by Samantha Egger's pure divorce rage, and this is one of my favorite Cronenbergs. Unapologetically.
Yeah, no, released by New World Pictures.
There it is.
I'll throw that out there.
Yes.
Yeah, one of the Cronenbergs put out by New World Pictures, as well as Rabid, and nearly Scanners, but they didn't.
Not cool. They did. That's an almost New World.
They passed on it. That would be a nearly New World, but for some reason, which is a bummer because I love Scanners with all my heart and soul so much. But I recently saw The Brood at Vidiot's here in Pasadena in California, and it's in Eagle Rock. My buddy was the one who wanted to go to it, but my buddy Dunbar, who's been on our podcast a couple of times, and he brought a third friend of ours who was just about to get a divorce, or is in the early stages of a divorce.
Oh no!
And I was like, texted him on the side, like, we're taking this guy to see them, and he knows The Brood. He loves The Brood, Dunbar, but he was like, oh, I know. I just figured, I know he's getting a divorce now, but we'll just roll with it. And so we had a good chat afterwards.
Wow.
And maybe it opened some things up. He was able to open up about it.
Yeah.
Because this is maybe one of the ultimate divorce movies.
And also Cronenberg, the thing about him is that his filmmaking style can be really cold and clinical.
Yes.
And this is one of the movies that is like maybe cool and clinical for parts, but in the end is like, fuck you. Fuck you. And it is most angry and upset. And that was the thing I took away from the screening was like, oh, this is such an angry movie in the end.
Yeah. And you don't usually see
and
him
you don't
angry.
see that side at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's usually very controlled. I still love the story of how didn't you try to show was the Jeremy Irons one with the twins?
Dead Ringers.
I think Dirk tried to show it to a date, or was it Sarah?
No, that was a dead relationship.
Which is he can be very clinical, he can be very cold. But yeah, The Brood has a fire underneath it that is like, oh buddy, you're working through some stuff, aren't you? And but that Samantha Egger performance, especially at the end, is oh my god.
Oh, such a good movie, yeah. A really interesting Cronenberg. If we're gonna have one Cronenberg, that's a good one. But I'm sure we might have more. You never know.
Never know.
Excellent. So The Brood is
yes, yes, Dirk. That was Lindsay's pick.
Excellent pick.
Thanks for jumping back in. Are you setting your lineup?
Yeah, perfect. I saw Shivers before The Brood, and then thought I'd seen The Brood for so long. Like I'd seen, I love Dead Ringers. I saw all these other Cronenberg movies, and then somebody was like talking about The Brood, and I'm like, right, the slugs, and they're like, what? And I was like,
no,
what are you talking about? And they're like, The Brood. So I saw it later, and I love it for the same reasons you're all talking about, but. I mean, it felt weird because I was so used to his, like you said, Ryan, the clinical nature of these movies that, and the icy pacing and everything. And then I saw that and was like, whoa, okay, he can do other things. And then right about that time, he pitched to like History of Violence and all that period of Cronenberg. Where I was like, oh,
Eastern Promises.
He can do lots of stuff. I don't like this stuff as much as the stuff that I like, but also no one else is running around being like, you guys got to see Dead Ringers. It's great.
Yeah, right.
Whatever.
He does have a unique kind of period where he sort of veers off of it. Yeah. But he's back.
He's back. I loved it. Maybe I'll pick it. Who knows? We'll only find out by progressing further into our third round of selections, which kicks off with Lindsay, as this is again.
Oh my gosh. Okay. This does have an American remake, but when I watched this movie, it was love at first sight, and that is Tale of Two Sisters, Kim Ji-woon from 2003.
I thought I was going to get it later.
I keep picking Dirk's picks. This is, a young girl returns home after a stint in a hospital stay, which is always going to end well. Her father has just been remarried to an evil stepmother, and her sister is not doing well. And it is an amazing ghost story. Like, I remember my partner walking in on it, and he goes, is there about to be a girl with hair in front of her face crawl out of a wall? I went, Yes, yes, there is. And then 2 minutes later, it did happen. So
Yeah.
it's just really great South Korean horror. It's one of the best ones. I do love this director, Kim Ji-woon. I think he also did I Saw the Devil and so many other just batshit kind of, I can't believe he's getting away with this movies, but Tale with Two Sisters has a lot of heart to it.
The Last Stand, I mean,
Yes, The Last Stand, which is
You're
incredible.
such a Knoxville head,
Yeah.
aren't you?
yeah, I mean, I got to see all the works of Johnny Knoxville.
He's actually really good in that movie. Like that surprised me. I was like, wow,
He's not
Johnny
bad,
Knoxville's
yeah.
really good. He's really good in The Last Stand.
It's not bad for like a almost, it feels like a DTV Schwarzenegger movie, but like, late era Schwarzenegger. It's not bad as an action movie.
But it's a sequel to The Stand, right?
You're right.
Yes,
Correct.
that's what
It's the last one.
It is.
It's the last one.
Okay.
Yes.
Stephen King wasn't involved in The Last Stand, but I think he signed off. He said, go with God.
Someone paid him $1 and they went off and did it. So yeah.
That's right. I give up the rights of The Stand for $1.
Yeah.
Excellent pick. As I said, I was going to choose this film. I've now crossed it off my list. This was one that, like, I was just so into movies coming out of, like, Korea and China and Japan in the early 2000s, and Tale of Two Sisters just blew me away. I, like, bought the DVD instantly, was like, this is amazing. And then I showed other people the movie, and unlike some of my other experiences in life, people were like, this is really good. And I'm like, yeah, but nobody really saw it here. So excellent pick.
Yeah, a lot of J and K horror tend to be about the scare and just making you feel really uncomfortable, where there's Tale of Two Sisters does that. There's actually kind of this heart behind it. I can't say warmth, but there's heart.
Excellent pick, Lindsay. And
Thank you.
It's to me for my third pick. So I'm going to choose a film from 1967. I rewatched this for this draft because I'd only seen it once prior. And that is a movie I'm not quite sure how to say, but it's spelt V-I-Y.
Oh.
I say Vi, but it could be wrong because, with Russian, you never know.
You don't know. I don't know. But Konstantin Yershov directed it with Nikolai Gogol. It's a gothic horror fantasy film where a man watches over a corpse for 3 days. There's a lot more to it, but that'll get you there. It's just beautiful.
We've all been there.
Yeah. The corpse watching. It's a gorgeous film. It's like one of those things that I just saw a still of and was like, I've got to watch this movie. And then the kind of payoff at the end. But I just loved it. I loved the creature effects, the makeup effects, the way they shoot things in reverse. Just has that little off sort of feeling when people are crawling out of walls and stuff. I'm a sucker for all that. And it just is a beautiful looking film. So when I was thinking about standalones, I had to have something of this kind of caliber that, like, I would put on, and just the way that the cinematography and the framing of the shots is just like art. I just love it. So a movie I don't even know how to say.
I was so surprised by the effects in it because it is a 1967 Soviet era movie. And when I think of Soviet era movie, I think of is it Tchaikovsky, which is very slow moving thing. And then you watch Vi and you're like, holy shit, this has got like color and imagination and just kind of like literally throwing things at the wall at one point. I think, especially with the hands kind of scene with the wall. It's so cool.
I love it. Ryan, big fan?
I have not seen it, I have to say.
Oh, perfect.
And I'm sorry to say I have not seen it. I was too busy seeing Don't Panic that night, and so
for the fifth time.
I've heard of this one. I've just not seen it.
Yeah.
So as Film Twitter's basic bitch, I have yet to see this one.
Yes, your picks are so basic so far.
Yes.
I just always frame myself that way because sometimes I just haven't seen some of these weird ones. So it's on Tubi, so I'm going to be watching it soon.
Well, there you go. Yeah, just put it on and revel in the beautiful film. I think it's fantastic. When I looked at all the things that would kind of fit this slot for me, it was like the number one. It just was like, because some of the other ones, there's like a moment that pays off, but they're not gorgeous to look at the whole time. I went through a Polish thing last month, and similar to the 60s in Russia, the cinematography and framing of shots and things that, like, just gorgeous countrysides, and it's hard for me to even articulate, but they just didn't have the whole package. And I think that this film, like, is thoroughly engrossing, and once you get to the final end part, it's just like, holy smokes, wow, okay.
Considering it is guy watches over body for 3 days,
Yes.
and that is the plot. It's amazing what they cram into it to make it something more. Like, yeah, it's so cool.
And a wicked bowl cut. You know, the guy's got...
Yeah, way wicked bowl cut, yeah.
I had to have a bowl cut on my picks. So, Ryan, that brings us to your third pick, closing out round 3. What do you have?
Okay, this is getting kind of tricky. I'm like, what do I? Because we're getting low on picks now, right?
Yeah, we're getting to the bottom. And Tricky wasn't in a lot of movies, so I'm going to guess Fifth Element is what you're going with?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Okay.
That's right. I love it when he transforms into an alien. Just shakes his head. I love that part. I don't know if does that count as horror? I don't know.
Standalone? No, yeah.
There's a bunch of slashers that I could go through, and I got 2 slashers I'm trying to choose between, and it's really, really difficult. So I will go with one because we talked about not having Italian stuff, and this one has Giallo vibes to me, but I think is a very fun slasher, and it's newer, and that's The Last Matinee.
Oh wow!
Oh, I still need to see this. Yes.
And it is all set in a movie theater with a killer going around. Like, it's very simplistic, but it like clearly is a love letter to slasher films, and also has some pretty sweet Giallo vibes to it. And so for me, I was like, this is. It's interesting to read Letterboxd because there's actually a lot of people that are like, this one sucks. This is boring or not fun. And I was like, I don't know. I absolutely loved it. I was like, this is totally my shit. It's, people getting killed in a movie theater in gruesome, gory ways and Giallo vibes. I was like, hell yeah. So Last Matinee to me was like, this was like an instant classic. It's a pretty newer film from, I think, 2020. So when it came down to slashers, I was like, okay, there's actually a lot to choose from and a lot of classics that are like standalone. But Last Matinee is one that just stuck out to me because it's just such a beautiful looking slasher. But yeah, so that was my pick.
Well, wonderful basic bitch pick, Ryan, with
Yes.
What are you talking about? Yeah, this is a movie like I always get I think somewhat jaded about these movies that they come out and you look at the aesthetic of it and you're like, oh, you like Giallo films or, and then I watch them and the movies that have their heart in the right place, I feel like, then I'm like, oh, why was I being such a prick about this? I like The Last Matinee a lot, but like I went into it with like a chip on my shoulder of like, oh, these indie filmmakers are borrowing from this or this. It's like, I don't know where I get that from every once in a while, but sometimes I just have to like check myself and be like, no, this is really entertaining. And I'm not shocked by the poor reviews on Letterboxd. Most of the things I love, I go on Letterboxd and I'm like, 1.5 star? Like that's what you're giving this thing that I said 4 stars on? And then I'm like, well, I'll still be Ryan's friend, but he did rate this very low. Sons of Steel.
I'm sorry. I'm trying. I've tried. I've watched it twice. I'm really trying.
Right. That brings us to the 4th round, the first pick. You're back to back here. So kicking off the 4th round, Ryan Gowland has the floor. What did you choose?
Oh, shit. Okay. I'm going to pick one that's, again, this is a near and dear movie to me and Erica because I showed it to her. After we finished watching it, she looked at me and said, why would you show me that?
Dead Ringers.
And no, it did not dissolve our relationship. But I'm talking about Session 9.
Oh, yeah. Great pick.
And it's I think, a great movie, directed by Brad Anderson, who was completely on my radar after that. His stuff since then is kind of hit or miss. But Session 9 is just a really good, spooky guys doing asbestos cleaners going into an old mental hospital, and a great use of voiceover, like some of the spookiest voiceover, like probably the scariest thing. And that's the thing that Erica always takes away from it.
How many times have you forced her to watch this?
Once.
Okay.
She won't watch it again. She's like, no, I've seen it since. She will not watch it. She's like, nope. I need to merely say, do it, Gordon, to her in a spooky voice. And she's like, get out of here. Do not go near me with that.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I don't own it, which is why it's one of the ones I'm not holding up, because I am nervous when I do buy it, because I've almost bought it many times. And when I do get it, she's going to be like, why? Why is this here? Why is this in our house?
Why is this object in my house?
Yeah. So she doesn't, that's just a movie that just absolutely scares her. And I'll just add this, that a buddy of mine, Peter, who's been on our podcast, he had this movie group that started during lockdown, and they watch movies and then they get on to Zoom and talk about it. And so he had me as a guest, said, come on. And it was around Halloween. So I said, oh, how about session 9? I don't know how many people have ever seen it, right? So they go, okay, cool, talk about it. And I talked about it and I was like, okay, well, here's session 9 and this is the story. And I told everything about Erica and all that stuff and how it's a spooky movie. And they're like, oh, cool, awesome. And then they went around Robin and then everyone in the group talked about the movie and they all hated it. Hated it so much. And I was just sitting there going, oh, okay. I liked it. And everyone's like, yeah, this is shit. I hate it. I hate the digital photography. I hate everything. They hated it. So it's like, I was like, oh God, this is like a Stone Cold classic to me, huh? Well, okay, interesting. So I guess not everyone likes it, but I do. So session 9.
Nice. I don't own it either. We were talking about this before, way before this conversation. And I was like, I should see it again because I saw it once in the theater. And my big takeaway was David Caruso.
As it should be.
Yeah, which, but I should go back and see it again. I remember little to nothing else.
Yeah, he's certainly in it.
Yeah.
I just think it has a nice pace to it. And I don't know. I think for being such a low budget movie, one of the first movies shot on digital video, and I think it has this great grainy quality. I was just talking about it with a buddy of mine yesterday who likes it. And so I was like, yeah, I should bring that one up because it's just a favorite of mine. And I think it's got a lot of really good stuff to it because any movie that like builds its scares basically on audio recordings, of somebody who's got multiple personality disorder, it's just like, oh, okay. This is a very old school technique particularly for a movie to be basing a lot of their scares and their tension buildup of that. And then it has a kind of real bonkers kind of ending. I don't know. For a haunted house movie, I really like it.
Excellent pick, some would say.
Yes. I do have the Second Sight somewhere. I'm trying to get my eyes on it. I do have the Second Sight Blu-ray somewhere. I haven't seen it yet. Because I bought it purely because of David. Well, I've heard so many good things about it. I have a few friends who adore this movie. And there was a Second Sight sale. And I'm like, I'm going to pick up the session 9. Because I have a weird obsession with David Caruso because he's such a weirdo actor. But no, but I think I'm going to have to watch it for this October because I need to finally watch session 9.
You do it with all the lights off. We were particularly in a very darkened, cavernous room. And
yes.
I love that.
Just got to go super dark. Hopefully it will play for you. Or you'll turn around and say, yep, I hated it. I don't know. Many people told me that. So
let's go to Letterboxd and see what they got on there.
It's a 3.2 on Letterboxd.
Okay.
So I got a lot more friends on Letterboxd than I did at that movie group. But
wait till I get on there and give it 2 stars just out of spite. Okay.
It's no Sons of Steel. Sorry, Dirk. I apologize.
No, you don't have to apologize. It's personal taste. Subjective.
Well, but now that this is my last appearance on this podcast.
That's right. Okay, great. I'm sorry. Great pick, Ryan. Moving on to my...
Some say excellent, but I'll take great.
No, it's downgraded to great. Okay, my 4th pick. Oof, it's really hard to pick between these two because it means one of them won't be selected. But I gotta go with... We already mentioned one of these. So, yeah. I'm gonna go with Pieces from 1982. A.K.A. Night of a Thousand...
It's exactly what you think it is.
Yeah, Night of a Thousand Screams. I have the puzzle. I love this movie. I didn't know who this director was. I didn't know that he wasn't from the States because they try very hard to make it seem like this was filmed in America. So we didn't understand the cool soundtrack. We just watched this movie as kids and we were like, this is weird. What is this? Because it wasn't, we saw it like when we saw Junior and all these movies that were like, you guys like chainsaws because the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so we put chainsaws in these movies. And there's something about Pieces that over time it just became one of my favorite things. The weird corners of this movie, the plate of glass, the roller skating, the puzzle, the axe murder, the blood being the color that it is. And the soundtrack, the Blu-ray came out with a separate CD of the soundtrack, and I've played that almost as much as I've probably seen the movie. I just love Pieces so much. It's in my top 4 on the Letterboxd. We're on Letterboxd. Go ahead and
Yes,
find us and
yes,
follow us all.
yes.
So yeah, I just, you know what, I needed it in my collection, especially after my classy pick. We gotta make it a little funky and weird with pieces.
There's a moment where is it Susan Day George is kind of screaming, like is it almost like a I know you did last summer, like
Yeah.
come for me, bro, kind of moment. And it's one of the most glorious things to be put on movie. Apart from the fact that the killer often will just hide a chainsaw behind his back.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Which is impossible, but I love
Yes.
it.
He just walks into a room or I think at the elevator, and he's just got like a chainsaw.
Yeah.
Just the sound of a chainsaw being on
Yep.
is unmistakable. But yeah, I do love that. There's that element in Don't Panic too, where it has that we're trying to make it seem like America.
Yeah, so hard.
Yeah.
But
like,
it's
so
so
many
instantly
flags.
in Don't Panic
flags than a Michael Bay movie. It's amazing.
Yeah, it does has that quality where you're like, this is attempting to be American, but made by somebody who doesn't know what that means.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And is only seen or only what they think about America is what they've seen through movies. So they're attempting to kind of make that happen. But it's a great one. It's a great one.
Yeah, I thoroughly.
Some would say excellent, but I would say great.
Oh damn. Okay. I'm gonna have to go see your star rating on Letterboxd on that one.
I don't remember what I put on pieces, but I enjoy it. I have it as well.
Oh, perfect. Do you have the one with the CD?
I don't think so. I think I have an Arrow one.
I think I have the Arrow as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. And I think my Pieces has the soundtrack with it.
I wonder who put out the one that I have then. Grindhouse?
Ah, okay.
No, yeah,
that makes sense.
That would make sense. Yeah.
Every movie they release, they do like a big 3. Actually, yeah, I should look and see if I want to upgrade to that
it's
release.
Grindhouse, and it's got, I mean, there's the CD. It's cool double cover. And I love this cover more than this art stuff. I don't know what that is. But this is what what we had.
The regular poster, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what's etched in my brain. Lindsay, what is your pick for the 4th round?
4th round, I think I have to go Hammer, which was really well, not hard, but when you find a movie that is really great that Hammer didn't make a sequel to, it's kind of weird. But I am going to go for the Gorgon from 1964. Of course, this is Terence Fisher. This is kind of a movie that screams autumn or fall to me, but of course it's great because you have Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, both rocking amazing facial hair, and you also have the wonderful Barbara Shelley. It is about this young woman who is very mysterious, and people are turning to stone and dying. And of course, spoilers, you find out that she's a Medusa or the Gorgon, and it's up to Christopher Lee to kind of figure it out. But I don't know. I love this movie. Every time I watch it, it's like a cozy warm blanket, and it's kind of one of those Hammer movies that was kind of the one and done. Like it didn't have the big character like Dracula or Frankenstein. So they just kind of did it one-on-one, but it's a really great Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee team up. That isn't one of those famous franchises within Hammer horror.
Perfect. Ryan, Gorgon?
I don't think I haven't seen Gorgon.
Me neither.
I think I have it in a Hammer set that I have, but I have yet to watch it. Hammer is still like something I'm dipping my toes into.
Same.
I haven't seen a ton of them. They were like, as a little kid, something that would be played on like UHF channels, which is like I don't know. This is like pre-cable, and it's like a network that was out there that just played like whatever was super cheap to put on, and they would put on, junky movies and stuff and things that were maybe like in the public domain and stuff like that. And so Hammer movies seem to be on all the time with that. So I kind of associated as like, oh, that's just all those junky English ripoffs of the original Universal horror movies. And then I've started watching them, and they're great. Like more, my bad on that. Sometimes you listen to an impression you get as a kid, and you're like, well, that's how it is. And then you go back and you go, no, I was a child, and I had the absolute wrong impression, and I should not have based years worth of movie watching based on that. But oh well. So I haven't gotten that far. Essentially, is the TLDR of that story, is that I haven't gotten this far in my Hammer watching, but I've heard that this is great, and so I want to see it, and I should see it very soon because so many people really love this one, and what I have seen, some of the stuff I've seen, I've loved from Hammer. So I mean, it's like I got to see it.
Yeah, Terence Fisher is one of there's a few undersung directors that Hammer used to use. Freddie Francis, who was, of course, a great cinematographer as well, but Terence Fisher is just one of those guys who just knew how to do something gothic. And the Gorgon has these amazing matte paintings. Like, they're always set in somewhere in Eastern Europe, undefined, but this one kind of also has this ancient Greek kind of quality. It's like this otherworldliness that I really adore in it. And it's always sunset. Like, it's great.
Yeah, like Ryan said, I haven't seen this. I haven't seen a lot of Hammer stuff compared to other things. I haven't seen a lot of Hammer films, and anytime I do, I'm like, oh, this is great. But like the stuff I saw when I was a kid, I was like, this is, and I liked old stuff when I was a kid. Just for some reason, my brain was like, when it came to horror, I was like, no, that's old.
They are very, yeah, and they're very paced. Like, it's not like even like a Universal monster movie where everything happens all in like 80 minutes. These are kind of very slow moving, and there's always this weird guy called Paul in it. Same with the Gorgon. I don't know what's the name with them and freaking Hammer and Paul, but there's always a Paul. And it kind of ramps up in the last 10 minutes like a lot of exploitation, but they can be very paced, but there's something about the pacing and just it's Cushing and Lee. I can watch those guys for hours, like, and they do hang out a lot in this movie.
Yeah, and unlike the TV days of seeing these films with commercials and everything, or even in the VHS video stores, now things look beautiful, and so that really helps me a lot because you see what these things were the meticulous care that went into shooting some of these things that some would view as like old schlocky things. You go, oh my gosh, this is great. Or the makeup effects on something. You're like, oh, I can see the intent of this. Like, that's beautiful. Yeah, I'm going to definitely see.
Yeah, Terence Fisher directed The Curse of Frankenstein, which is one I have seen, and that is an absolute classic. It's so good. But yeah, we are living in such an amazing age of physical media where it's dying, everyone says. But we are getting 4Ks of like giallo films that used to be you had to go to the one video store that would carry all of those obscure titles that where it's financially okay for them to do so because it's not going to be a blockbuster, and you'd have to go seek this out. And now you can get a 4K of Four Flies on Gray Velvet, whereas before you had to like seek out that VHS in a particular store somewhere, and now you can get some of these Hammer films in 4K. They're starting to put them out, and you're like, this is like what a time to be alive, it's fantastic that we're getting these upgrades, and that's why I love physical media, because we're now securing this for other generations of people who will be like, cool, can AI, can you make a blend of The Curse of Frankenstein with Malignant or whatever, and then just like put it out in 90 minutes and great, cool, that's my movie. But for those few that still actually will enjoy seeing cinema, they'll have much better copies of these movies to watch than we did growing up.
Matte paintings, it's a lost art. We need to bring it back. That's all I'm saying.
No doubt. Yeah. Sometimes also like front screen or back screen projections. Some of those old tricks worked so well and can be utilized by people trying to make movies on the cheap. It's just, it takes a little bit more work to do, but like, if you can do it, it's a great trick to pull off. But yes, matte paintings, my God, like where would the thing be without matte paintings?
Exactly.
And I've, brought my daughter to see that on the big screen, and she like loved it. And it's filled with like matte paintings and old school techniques and, old school effects that aren't like, she always calls everything like CGI. And I'm like, okay, well, back then there isn't CGI.
There wasn't CGI.
CGI didn't exist. So you're just talking about effects you don't dig, but that's because there's a lot of like, there is some blue screeny, but it's more like blending two different images onto the same. And sometimes you can really see those lines. But I would argue you can sort of see those lines a lot of time on modern stuff too. Exactly. Just all depends.
Yes. It depends on how it's done. Was it Rob Bottin that did the thing, or was it thinking of another? Yeah. Yes. He did not sleep for like 2 weeks and was just covered in like a gluey substance that probably was not good for his health at all.
Yeah. When Wilford Brimley takes like the animal off and pulls out that like, it's what is a glass sculpture. It's a sculpture made out of glass, but it looks like sinewy muscle.
Yeah.
And he just pulls the lid off of it and there's like steam coming out of it. It's one of the most awesome effects in a movie filled with great effects.
Yeah.
But like, And you look at that and you're like, why can't we do that today? It's a, you know, this is great stuff. Do that.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's, you know, so with those, there are a few movies that do. And when they do, I'm always thrilled to shout that out. But yes, front screen projection is something that needs to come back. And Hammer
Yes.
movies.
And matte
Yes,
painting.
very much.
And the Gorgon.
And the Gorgon, which has some really cool stop motion with the snakes, I would say, that as well.
Oh,
So,
I love stop motion.
I'm in.
Yeah.
I just recently watched Equinox. Have you guys seen Equinox?
no.
Mm-mm.
It's like a stop motion, like two people go to a cabin kind of thing. It's really fun. I recommend it. It's out on Blu-ray now.
There's a couple of stop motion movies that are on Shudder that I need to sit down and watch.
Yeah, it's really good.
Is it from like 2020?
No,
Okay.
60s, I think.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh, the 1971. Okay.
Yeah, 70.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, there's a lot of equinoxes.
Yeah, here. This is what it looks like.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
the Criterion. It's got so much. It's got an interactive menu. It's got screen
Oh my
access.
God.
Just kidding. It's got.
Speaking of lost art forms, interactive menus need to come back.
They need to come
It's
back.
got
My God.
so much stuff on here. But anyway, I'm diverting the conversation to talk about Equinox. Okay. That closes out the fourth round, which brings us to the fifth and final round, which Lindsay is kicking off, and we'll do so right after this short break. Let me ask you a question. What would Cafe Flesh be without Tantala Ray? What would Slumber Party 2 Massacre be without Atanas Illich? What would Electric Dragon 8000 Volts be without Tadanobu Asano? The answer? They wouldn't be the same, because you need that certain flavor. That's like food without Marshall's hot sauce. For 14 years, chef, teacher, and cookbook author Sarah Marshall has been making delicious and flavorful sauces in small batches by hand. Every bottle of Marshall's hot sauce is prepared by Sarah. You can elevate every meal with the help of an actual chef who is using the freshest produce and the highest quality ingredients. Plus, she now has launched a seasoning line taking actual produce, dehydrating and freeze-drying them, and powdering them to make delicious seasonings without chemicals or binders. There's even more at marshallshotsauce.com. That's Marshall's, HAUTESAUCE, from an actual hot sauce subscription, which gives you guaranteed access to limited edition sauces, to a gourmet pasta with special herb blends rolled right into the noodles. You'll find it all at marshallshotsauce.com. Enter VHS Podcast for 20% off. And now, back to the show. And we're back. What a lovely break that was. And we're here with the fifth round. It's Lindsay's final pick, which means a lot of movies are going to fall off her list right about now.
It really is.
What'd you choose?
Okay, I think, actually, you know what? I am going to choose this. This is not a favorite movie of this particular director, but I love it. Again, it is kind of gothic, but I'm a gothic girl, so I might as well just keep going with it, even though it's a different kind of movie. And that is, of course, Dead Silence, James Wan, 2007.
Oh,
I adore this movie.
interesting.
I make no apologies. This is about Ryan Quanten. I think I'm always mispronouncing his name.
That's right.
I want to put the W in there quite a bit. His fiance dies randomly. So he goes back home and there's something happening with his town and these dolls that just keep popping up because James Wan loves his dolls. And of course, you've got Donnie Wahlberg in there, maybe the better Wahlberg, but who knows about that one. Yeah, it is just a really great, creepy kind of movie. I like how Wan does tone. It's really goofy as well. Like it's witches and it's all the good stuff.
Excellent pick. I only saw this once in the theater. And I don't remember anything about it except for it being like, what's with this guy and dolls? I should rewatch it. I just heard one on Movies to Be Buried With, the podcast. And
oh, yeah.
It's a great episode. And it just kind of really makes you, I'm not a huge James Wan fan, I would say, but it really made me appreciate him as a person, which sometimes that can unlock, for me anyway, a person's work. You know, seeing the creator first and then be like, okay, now let's go check out these films. You said Dead Silence, is that right?
Dead Silence, yes.
Okay, great. Because what's the name of the Kevin Bacon one?
Death Sentence?
Death Sentence,
Death Sentence, yeah. So Dead Silence, Death Sentence. Those two always get twisted in my head. Very different films.
because the same year, right? So
yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. Oh, man. He's also one of those people, kind of like M. Night, where like I think once you're in their corner, you're like, I don't care, just give me some more. Like whatever you're doing, just give me another,
That is kind of true. When Malignant came out, I was like, oh, this is the movie I never knew I wanted. Now I have it and my life is better. And then I went back and watched Dead Silence and went, oh no, I am so in James Wan's corner right now. That it's like, yeah, you're right, like M. Night. I'm just on the James Wan train, and he really can't do anything wrong when he is directing. When he's producing, it's a different story. But when he's when he's got something's taken something he's taken and then gone off and made The Nun 2, and it's like, oh boy. But yeah, when he's absolutely directing, best thing in the world.
James Wan's a guy I really admire.
Yeah.
I think, there's only so many working directors that are like, I'm committed to horror. Like, I'm going to run off and make a Fast and Furious movie and an Aquaman movie, but then I'm going to make Malignant, which I didn't love as much as other people, but the fact that he did that is like, that's got all the respect to him for saying, no, I'm committed to this, and I can make a big mainstream movie, but I'm going to go back to my roots. And, I'm not a huge Saw guy, but, the first Saw is very good. And what comes after it, of course, isn't the same as where it begins.
Yeah, it's just weirder. Fast and Furious, that the Saw franchise will never drop anything. It will just keep bringing it back. And we're like, do we need to bring back this weird plot line from the third movie? Okay, yeah, we are. Okay, cool.
Yeah, they're like, how many can we just sneak in that the timeline, it fits sort of like right here, and this is how we're getting away with it. And like but I went and saw X in the theater with a buddy, and wow. It was okay. I'm not a huge Saw guy, and I'm also not a huge guy into killer doll movies, but I did see all the Annabelles and the Conjurings, but I have not seen this one. So I need to see it.
It's fun. It's definitely, you can tell he's post Saw. Look, it's fun. It's about the death of this ventriloquist who put a curse on people. And yeah, I think you do have to be on the James Wan train, which I very much am, but it just gives me everything I want from a James Wan movie.
Yeah, I think I saw the Saw movies, and I was kind of like, it's always about this doll and playing games. And then this one came out and I was like, I don't know. But I keep hearing so many people saying, see it. And I don't love doll movies. So I'm like,
I love doll movies. Give me a killer doll any day. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this will be your last appearance on this podcast, because I just remembered, Ryan, that you don't like dolls. The movie.
I don't like dolls. I don't like dolls. I don't like dolls. I'm not a huge Puppet Master fan. I just recently got Child's Play, the first one. I got the 4K, and I have yet to watch it because I'm like, I should watch this again. But I'm not super into all the Chucky ones. I mean, I'm just...
Child's Play 2?
Bride of Chucky?
They're fine. My brother loves them. He's a huge fan of them. And I'm like, yeah, they're fine. I'm just not... I mean, but they might be more fun than I'm remembering, They are. That's what I have to kind of go for, is the fun. Because I'm like, dolls are not scary to me, but...
Well, you got to remember, this is Brad Dourif as a doll. So it's...
Rich can be at least fun. And I've seen some of the later, Chucky sequels, and they can be pretty fun. And we have one on our October list this year. So, I'm trying. But yeah, doll movies, I'm not normally super into them.
Haley, put the sound in after every pick Ryan says. Wah, wah, wah.
I know. I'm just, maybe I'm Twitter's wet blanket. Maybe that's who I really am, rather than a basic bitch. But
well, I'm just joshing you. You're welcome back anytime, Ryan. Sorry. Lindsay, excellent.
I do show up. I think that I have that. That's a good. That's a good quality.
That's true. You are 100%. So is Lindsay.
Yeah.
That's why you're both here. My final pick of the 5th round is The Cow Who Sang a Song into the Future. Just kidding, everybody.
I was going to say this. Was that a horror movie?
You don't know, because neither of you watched it.
It is on the list, but no,
it's on the list.
Nobody's ever going to watch this
It's on the list.
Okay, I'm just kidding, people. You'll know if you go back and listen to our top films of 2023 episode from last year. You are both coming back for 2024, right?
Yes, I will be there.
Yeah,
excellent.
I hope so. I had to check in with you and be like, am I invited back? Because
that's right.
I'm watching a lot of 2024 movies, and several of them have been horrible. And I'm like, just trying to make sure, like, I've watched some like obscure ones that were not good. And I'm like, I get why I haven't heard of this, because it's bad. And then I was like, Ryan Dirk, like, am I wasting my time for
you know,
even worse than I just did.
there is a podcast that really didn't have a great summer at the movies, and I couldn't get on their vibe. I've had a great year watching movies, so I don't know if I'm
No,
just.
there's some great stuff. No,
I've
yeah,
seen
don't get me
some
Oh
wrong.
no,
4 movies back to
20
back where I was like, "Holy smokes, these are all great."
this year has been some of the greatest highs and some of the lowest lows I have had in a while.
Mm,
It's yeah, there are some movies I have absolutely despised, and then there are movies I'm like, oh well, this is just a now classic, and that's going to be in my 4K whatever, and I'm just going to be enjoying myself.
yeah,
Yeah, we are in a weird era of modern movies where people don't know what to make,
yeah,
and
Yeah,
they are throwing a lot of money at things that we don't mostly want to see, but they think we do,
yeah.
and
I
then
don't.
are surprised by other things that do well that they're like, oh, that hit. So like it'll be interesting to see where things go from here as we're in sort of the post-COVID cinema landscape where people are
Right.
like, I don't know, it's all IP, right? But wait, other things
it's
snuck
not.
in. How is that? So I don't, whether there'll be course correction, I don't know. I'll be interested to see going forward.
No, I just did a whole quickie review on Megalopolis, which will not probably make my top 10, but it's about, I talked about the same thing. The things that worked before the pandemic aren't working now. So they're just trying to throw everything they have at it. And when it fails, they kind of blame something else. But then this other movie will come out and be a hit. And they'll be like, wait, but that made money? Oh, okay. So yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that should be in your top 10 vanity projects of
Yeah, oh, it is.
2024.
Yeah.
That's going to be.
And the whole thing was like 2024 is the year of the vanity project. And I'm just like, this
Yes.
is fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Hopefully that trend continues.
Yes, just keep giving money to people who should not be spending that kind of money on movies.
He spent
please.
mostly his
It's
own
his
money on
money.
all that.
Yeah.
Yes,
Like
yeah.
he's finally spent that wine money, and this is what we got.
Yes.
I definitely seek out like genre new stuff. I don't see like, I don't know, whatever romantic comedy thing more often than not. I'm not seeing those or new dramas and things until the very end of the year when we're doing the episode. But
You
for the
cram
most part,
everything in.
like I watched Oddity and Cuckoo back to back and was like, is this the best year of movies? It might be. I love
be.
all of this. Like I
Well, you didn't like Ricky Stenicki, so I don't know.
was that this year?
Yes, it was.
Oh my god. Man, the amount of guff I got from my wife over trying to sit through Ricky Stenicki. And then
High of highs, low of lows. That is.
she eventually was like, "Oh, you turned it off again?" And I was like, "I can't watch this." And she's like, "But you watch so much of it. You should probably just finish it." And I think she was just setting me up to give me more guff for sitting through that movie.
Yeah. It's a John Cena clip show, but other than that, it's about some of the worst dudes on earth.
I swear I saw like 3 or 4 John Cena movies this year, it feels like.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's in a lot of
Yeah.
like there's another movie he's in talking about romantic comedies that I have in the queue that I'm like, I guess it's
Where
2024. I
He's
gotta
like
see
a
it.
bodyguard or whatever for
Yep,
like a
yep.
lady that wins a lottery. Oh my gosh.
Oh, I saw a thing for that one. Yeah.
I gotta. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna see it by the end of the year, but I'm like, ooh,
Yeah. Do you,
after Ricky Stenicki,
I'll tell I wouldn't
don't
even
know.
know how many stars to give that movie because it's kind of just what it is. Like I'm like, I don't know if this is your thing. It's probably great. I just sat there going, wow, this is moving images. Like it's not bad. It's also not amazing. It's just a thing, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something that is a thing is my 5th and final pick. And this is the movie where I was like, if I'm going to be championing anything on this list, it's this because we've touched on here with the Session 9 pick, which was an excellent pick. When you watch a film and you turn out all the lights and you think to yourself, like, I can't be scared. I've seen whatever movies and whatnot. But when movies start to operate in a way that works and you suddenly question the safety of your own home just because the lights are out, it's something really special. And it doesn't always happen for me, but it happened with this movie. And ever since then, it's been one of my favorites. And it's a found footage film, which notice I didn't say was one of the genres because I don't think found footage is a genre. It's like the framework of a film because you can have like found footage ghost, found footage aliens, whatever. People often say it's a genre. I disagree. But This is from South Korea. It's from 2018, directed by Jung Bum Shik. It's Gunjam Haunted Asylum.
Oh, I've heard of this.
It starts out in a way that I think like, it's not gonna work. I won't name the other movie until Ryan does his final pick, but then the gags and the kind of like you see with James Wan movies where he sets up a situation and you go as a horror fan, oh, okay, so
I know what this is.
yeah, so
and then
so we're waiting for the
doesn't happen.
ghost to clap or whatever, it's like those kind of sequences, and then because it's the found footage, they're pulling that safety net that you have out. And when I watched this, especially the last 20 minutes, but like it was pitch black in our house, and I had given myself to this film that was working, and I get so excited because it's like, for me, that's my like thrill ride. And I probably said it on the podcast, but Sarah had woken up unbeknownst to me because I have these headphones on. I'm mere inches from the television, and she just passed through my peripheral, the one light on in the kitchen, just a tiny bolt of light, and it scared the crap out of me so much because I was like, oh my God, it's this entity or whatever. And then I just was so gleeful because I had been completely terrified. And so this movie really worked for me. It's got a beautiful limited edition out now with a booklet of essays, of course, art cards, because who doesn't need these art cards?
Exactly. I have so
need 'em.
many of them, and I still don't know what to do with them. It drives my partner nuts. He goes, "What is with the cards?"
Yeah.
Mine are mostly still wrapped up and in the case. They have never been taken out of the. I'm like, I
What?
don't know. I don't have.
How do you look
Do you
at
think I
them?
have copious amount of like wall space to just kind of check out? That's if they're wrapped up. If they're unwrapped, then you flip through them and you're like, okay, I guess I have these.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like people complain about slipcases, but let's talk about the cards.
Yes.
And then they'll charge like an extra $20, and you're like,
For the
art cards.
yeah.
And I'm like,
And you're
nom, 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 give it to me.
Who released it though? Dirk, who
So
put that out?
this is out by Second Sight.
Okay.
It's a beautiful edition, and I put it on and ended up watching the whole thing. It's one of those where you're like, I love it when we do this, Ryan, we've talked about this, where you get a movie and you're like, I'm just going to see how the picture quality is. And then you're like, I watched that movie.
Yep. And it's usually late at night where I'm like, I probably won't last. And then you're like, oh, it's 2 a.m. Oh, well, tomorrow's going to be tough.
Yeah. So there we go. Final pick of the group, Gunjam Haunted Asylum, which brings us to the final pick of the fifth round, the final round. It's the final pick. It's up to you, Ryan. What do you got?
Oh, God. So this is going to throw a lot of stuff out the wall. I really wanted to get like a good horror comedy. It's probably the biggest stack that I made of all of these things.
Oh, I've got like
was
6 on
comedies.
my list, so I'm curious if it matches.
And there is, of course, a classic that we all know and we're all thinking about. But again, I thought, is that part of a trilogy though? I don't know.
This was on one of my lists. Yeah.
But I was like, so I don't know. But this one is not exactly a comedy, but I think it's wild enough and crazy enough that you're going to laugh a lot, and you're going to enjoy it. And it's a gory mess, and that's Bloody Muscle Bodybuilder in Hell.
Got it right here.
Yeah, this is an amazing movie, and it's very much an Evil Dead ripoff, but you won't see it coming. It's an hour long, or a little over an hour long.
It is, yeah. It goes by so quick.
So quick, and it's such a crazy movie. And I every like once or so a year, I have a bunch of buddies over and we watch bad movies, and so I threw this on as a pre-feature because it's like an hour long. God, it's just so fun to watch with people. It's just such a blast, and
the gags in it are just
terrific. And it's like shot inside somebody's house. Like, it's so low budget and yet gory and crazy, and goes all sorts of places. They do everything they possibly can with no money. It's so much fun that I was like, okay, it's not a comedy, but it's so much fun that I had to throw it in there. Sorry to all the horror comedies that are more expressly horror comedies that I ignored for this, but this just feels like the right pick.
I love that you went with Bloody Muscle Bodybuilder in Hell, which is like kind of an Evil Dead-y thing, but you also have Don't Panic. Like, you're like really close to picking Srigala, I feel like.
Oh, God. Yeah. Oh, very close.
You kind of found
Very
this
close.
loophole where it's like these movies that had sequels, but it's very crafty moves. I see what you're doing.
I wish I had thrown in Treegala. I just went on a podcast and talked about it, so I was like, I'll put that aside. But Treegala also so much fun, and starts off a little different, but settles right into that Friday the 13th stuff you know and love. So yeah, the foreign versions of popular franchises is like is a little bit how I sort of went with things to a degree.
Oh, I love
with
it.
a couple exceptions, but yeah, like I can't help it. There's so much stuff that I didn't talk about, but
yes,
exactly, yeah.
Okay, I am who I am.
Before I run through our final draft here, Lindsay, did you have anything that didn't make the cut that you feel bummed about that's on your list?
Yeah, there's one movie, but it's kind of been remade so many times. I didn't really want to pick it, but that's Mad Love from 1935.
Nice, yeah.
Also, I think, I had Night of the Demon, the Jacques Tourneur, and also I think the people under the stairs as well. I think were probably the ones that I was like, oh man, this isn't going to make the list. But all movies that I do love dearly.
Yeah, Ryan, anything?
Yeah, a couple quickies. I just talked about this with Lindsay, Fade to Black.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is a slasher, just terrific and such an incredible lead performance, and like the perfect movie for people that love movies.
Yes.
It's such a
also talk about a physical media release. That Fade to Black lost for so long on DVD, and then that Blu-ray is pristine.
Just fantastic.
Yeah, because you always heard that you would never see it just because of the copyright, and then all of a sudden it came out, and I'm just like, I will get it with the slipcase, which because I'm not a slipcase person, but I was determined to get like the full thing on that one. So
beautiful.
Yeah, just gorgeous and just such a good movie. Just like so great. And Truder, classic slasher.
Yes.
Think about that. I just rewatched it again just because I was like, this is pretty funny, right? The Blackening. If anybody hasn't seen that, I really enjoyed The Blackening. I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Really good.
As I said, Ticks. Also Freaky. I really enjoyed Freaky as a horror movie.
Freaky's very fun. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a bunch of other stuff, but I think in terms of creature features, one that I kind of thought about that I saw in the theater, and I remember Eric and I went and saw Crawl, and that was a movie that she was not as impressed with when we first saw it, and she was like, yeah, and I thought for sure she would love it, right? Yeah. And then we watched it again, we rented it. Or I rented it, and I was like, she was like, are we watching this again? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, you know what? At the end, she was like, that was pretty good, actually. Yes. And I was like, okay,
so
good.
Fun. I can't wait for the second one.
Yeah, the second time through, she was like, that's actually pretty good. And I've seen it since, and I'm like, this is a really great, fun,
very fun
alligator movie.
Yeah, my mother watched Crawl, and I was talking to her, and she's like, yeah, I just watched this movie about these, she said crocodiles, but they're alligators. And I went, okay, Mum she rarely watches movies. She goes, yeah, there was a dog, and I was getting worried, and they were in the house. I'm like, did you watch Crawl? Oh my God, you watched it to the end as well. It was insane.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I really dig that movie. I think it's a good one.
Yeah, I can't wait for the second one set in New York City. I think it's going to be a blast. Is
that going to have a sequel? It should, right?
It has a sequel in develop. It's being.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, same director. I think he makes great stuff. I mean, he got.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got what Piranha was. He gets what Crawl is. Like, he just knows how to give the audience what they want, and I think that that's fantastic. I had just a few. Society, obviously.
Yep.
I mean,
I had that in my stack.
I had Two Witches, but I was like, I talk about the movie all the time. I had Nightbreed as a Clive Barker pick. I had Lords of Salem. I had on there.
Sorry, Dirk. Yet another movie I just do not like. Do not like Nightbreed. I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
I know. I'm the worst.
No, I know someone else. I was so surprised because I thought they would love Nightbreed, and they're like, "Yeah, I don't like Nightbreed." I'm like, "Really?
I just do not like it." Yeah.
Well, that'd be your jam. It's monsters and doing monster things.
Mm-mm.
You don't like Nightbreed, Ryan? You don't like it?
Nope.
Wah, wah,
do not. I know. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm the worst. I hate me too.
I also had Lords of Salem because I didn't have any zombie on there.
Oh, okay. All right.
Snatchers.
I thought you meant like zombies for a second. And I was like, no, of course. Rob Zombie. Okay.
Yeah. Snatchers. Sorry. I did have Shaun of the Dead. And then the final,
Yeah,
the
Shaun of the Dead. I mean, but again, I just thought
Cornetto
it's sold as
trilogy.
the Cornetto trilogy, and so I'm
Yeah, I
like,
consider that a trilogy. Like
I
that.
mean, yeah, but Shaun of the Dead. I mean, that's like one of my absolute
It's
favorite movies of all
huge. I
time.
mean, that was
So
the
like,
first thing I thought of. I was like, that's a round one pick. Like,
100%, and people are gonna be waiting for it and
yeah,
going like, what the hell is wrong with them? But sorry, that's just because of the trilogy aspect. I just thought,
yeah.
okay, I can't include it.
They're like, Ryan's first pick was Don't Panic, but Shaun of the Dead was what?
I know. Well, I threw everyone off with the Don't Panic, and then they were
Hmm.
like, well, I don't know what to expect from this idiot.
And The Final Girls was the other horror comedy that
Okay,
Oh
sure,
yes, yeah.
sure,
I love that
sure.
movie. It's so fun. It gives me so much joy. But it was also hard not for me to pick just horror comedies because I was like, a lot of them don't have sequels. And I was like, oh, okay, like this will work. But that, let's talk about what we did choose. Lindsay, you chose Tucker and Dale versus Evil, The Brood, Tale of Two Sisters, Gorgon, and Dead Silence.
It's a good list.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes,
Excellent
yep.
picks. Excellent picks.
I chose Dead Alive, Night of the Creeps, Vi, Pieces, and Gunjime Haunted Asylum. And Ryan, you closed it out with Don't Panic, From Beyond, The Last Matinee, Session 9, and Bloody Muscle Bodybuilder in Hell.
Yep.
Hell yeah. I think these are all very representative of our movie tastes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I
They
also
really are.
skipped over, I should say, too, Tremors,
Oh, right. Yeah.
which I actually didn't pick because
It has
with the fourth
sequels.
person that was going to be here today, I figured they would bring it up, but so I forgot about it. But Tremors would have been one I'd throw into as terms of a horror comedy,
Oh,
and in
right.
particular a
I was
great.
gonna say because there are many sequels to that one,
Yeah.
but yes.
That's
Yeah,
not a standalone.
yes. Yeah, you couldn't have brought that one in, but would have been lovely to do so.
Yeah. Fantastic. We want to know your picks. Hit us up on the social medias. Give us the 5 that you would have chosen that are standalone films. No prequels, no sequels. But before we leave,
Made it tough.
I think we got to know.
Hmm.
Ryan, tell us about the New World Pictures podcast and where people can find you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you can find us on our website, newworldpicturespodcast.com. It's got all of our episodes and all of our everythings. And you can follow our socials and all that from there if you want to, but go to the website.
And you guys cover just the movies released by Canon, is that right?
Yep, correct. Yep. We do a little bait and switch. All the movies released by New World Pictures, New World Video, New World International, New World Television, all their different subdivisions. We're adding another element of a subdivision in October, the Learning Corporation of America.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
New World owned Marvel for a time, and they also bought the Library of Learning Corporation of America. So we'll be adding those crazy
Wow.
movies that
Okay.
they then would often release on New World Video. But so a lot of those, they released a lot of that stuff. So a lot of interesting stuff.
And this episode will drop in 2 weeks. So the heart of October, what's going on for New World Pictures?
New World. So what we're doing is my month. This is a weird, crazy month where we talk about, it's called Robotober, which is something we joked about earlier in the year. My brother Mark and co-host, he came up with Robotober, and then I had to kind of figure out what that meant.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you go, oh, did New World release RoboCop? They did not, but they did release the RoboCop animated series.
Nice.
So we will be talking about that to start, and then other weird things you didn't realize that New World released. And that is
I
the
love
theme
this.
of the month. Though, as I was trying to pick stuff for that month, I realized, honestly, a lot of stuff we talk about could fit into this category. We've got a really, really interesting lineup. And if there's any month where we are really testing our listeners' patience, it's going to be this month as we talk about some crazy stuff, but we're also going to do our first live episode.
Oh, wow.
So we will be doing a live
cool.
episode later on in October, and that will be sneaking into our Robotober lineup, and that's going to be a fun one. We're going to do in about 3 weeks, so that should be fun to do here in Los Angeles. So, and hopefully the start of other, live shows on occasion.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Fantastic. New World Pictures Podcast.com.
That's right.
Great. Lindsay.
Excellent
Yes.
pick.
Excellent pick. No, I don't have a website, but you can generally find Schlockenor on all the pods. For October, we will be doing all Italian. the insane sequels, the insanity, the why did this director make this movie series. There's a few of those. Yes, you can find me either on Schlock and Awe 1 on most socials and also Reading Geek.
Fantastic. And just a quick rundown of what Schlock and Awe podcast is.
Shock and Awe is a double feature podcast where I like to kind of smash together movies that may not make a typical double, but to sort of see the connections between them, usually different genres. So, yeah.
Fantastic. There we go. That's the end of the episode. I'm just going to limp through the ending here of the landing of the plane.
Oh, the couch is just calling your name right now, right?
It out. I'm kidding. That's it. That's our standalone horror movie drafts. Huge thanks to Ryan and Lindsay for coming on and recording this with me. As I said in the beginning, here is the film that would have been my number one pick. It's Tobe Hooper's Funhouse. I know. I love it. I even talked about it on Lindsay's podcast. It's so amazing. I watch it every year, and yet, where was it? In the draft, my brain just completely messed up, so I don't know what to say. I guess we have to have a redraft. That's what has to happen. I'll bring Ryan and Lindsay back. Maybe a third guest will show up, and then we'll see how that goes. Until next time, this has been VHS, the podcast where, when it comes to celebrating rad films and even radder friends, we're not done yet.
VHS.